Hello there, so here we are in Wales, and I'm going to take the opportunity to speak about plant medicines and plant diets. So if you'd like to follow me, off we go. Thank you. So there are a lot of misconceptions with regard to plant diets for plant medicine, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to explain. And it goes back to what my sister said. She's very much been into all this sort of thing as well, diets and health and all the rest of it, and she says cleanse and build. Cleanse and build. So we're going to actually adapt that particular mantra that she's got, and we're going to call it the cleansing sandwich. So what you have on the outside is you have a building phase, and then you have the cleansing phase, and you have another building phase. So that is what I'm going to now go to explain to you, and just take a little look at where we are. And over there actually is the cathedral, and this is like the castle with the old traditional moat. Right, so this is what I need you to understand. So I'll give you an example. So say 3 weeks before your retreat, you need to be in your building phase. That means you need to be eating foods which are going to build you up, give you more strength and more resilience. Foods with more proteins. Now it depends on what kind of a diet you follow. So whatever diet you follow, there's a basic principle. And the principle is, make sure you're getting plenty of nutrition. If you're a person that takes supplements, this is the time to be doing your supplements. If you eat meat or fish, this is the time to be eating meat and fish. If you're vegetarian, make sure you're having a really substantial vegetarian diet at this point in the process. And this would apply to a person who's vegan. Make sure you're having a high nutrient diet, because what you want to do is to actually understand the process. And the process is like this: when you're actually on your retreat, you are consuming what are called alkaloids, and alkaloids require that you do a bit of cleansing before you get the benefit of them. But if all you've been doing for weeks before the retreat is cleanse, you end up in a bit of a mess. And one of the most extreme examples I can think of was someone who decided to turn up to a retreat, and I made it very clear: big breakfast, big lunch, but plant diet food, and this person decided to eat 2 small mangoes. That was it. And they were so ungrounded and unbalanced that during retreat it was necessary for me to hold this person's hand for some hours. You can imagine how convenient that is when you're hosting a retreat, just to keep them grounded so they just didn't drift off too far. So this is really my chance to explain this to you in a little bit more detail. So between 3 weeks before the retreat and 10 days, it's your building time. Supplements, proteins, meat, fish if you eat that kind of food, eggs, cheese if you're vegetarian, vegan, high protein. So that's what you do, and this puts you into position to benefit most of all, because you are not deprived, you're not starved. Then 10 days before the retreat, I would call this the changeover period. So this is a really good time to phase down and phase out those really high nutrient dense foods, and to, even if you normally eat animal food, it's time to start phasing it out, reducing it. So then a week before the retreat itself, this is when you want to be going on to your reducing the salt down to 0, lots of fresh plants, fruits, vegetables, grains, pulses, whatever, and making sure that you're really reducing the salt down to 0. And the idea is that the diet is supposed to be more bland, so no chili, for example, no garlic, no strong spices. It's okay to have mild spices, but no strong spices during this period of time. And the really key thing to realise in this last week is this is when we want to be aware of the tyramines, and that means that you cook everything fresh. So every single time you have a meal, you cook fresh from scratch, and anything you don't eat goes in the compost. You do not save it overnight. And this is to give yourself the best possible cleanse. So this is the idea. In this last week phase, you're really giving yourself a wonderful cleanse by eating very fresh food, freshly prepared, and that's going to do you very nicely. But in the time from the 3 weeks to 10 days, really do go for the nutrition and the supplements. So in that last week, you want to be cutting those supplements right out. Just don't bother with anything like that. Keep it really simple. That's going to be the best way to work. So let's see if there's anything else that I'm being asked to mention while we're here on the subject of diets. Well, I've said it before, but the whole point about going on a retreat is part of the process is learning to cook. If you don't normally cook, this is your time to actually learn to do so. Yes, it is worth mentioning this. Everyone's different about this. Some people love raw food, some people love cooked food. You have to see how your body is, see what it is that's best for you. Some people need a balance of the two. It depends on the time of year. If you're having a retreat in a hot country in the summer, then you're much more likely to be having majority raw. If it's a cooler country in the winter, you're much more likely to be having cooked food. So yeah, that's also something to be aware of and to consider. So as I said before, if you've got any comments, any questions, you're most welcome to add them to the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them. So all the very best to you. All the love. Thank you very much.